Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Textbroker Author Society Conference. My name is Tammy Reed, and I'm the Community and Quality Manager here at Textbroker. One of my responsibilities is to build our relationships with the community of authors that we have. This is why I will be your host today. So what is the Textbroker Author Society? This is going to be a series of conferences that's going to showcase Textbroker staff, the authors, and other special speakers to discuss a wide variety of topics, really just related to being an author, improving your writing, and getting the most out of Textbroker. The Author Society is both registered Textbroker authors and anybody who is thinking about joining. So in most cases, the advice that you will hear today is going to apply to all writers. So our focus today is going to be about getting started with Textbroker. The agenda will be Philip Thune, who is the CEO and Textbroker of Textbroker, providing a quick history and introduction of Textbroker, including key author metrics. Then Desiree Bowman, who is the Community and Quality Editor here at Textbroker. Yes, Desiree is one of our rating editors, providing us feedback on a regular basis to the authors. Now, this is the first time we've ever had a ratings editor present in public. So some of the mystery around who would be rating your articles will be revealed. Desiree will spend some time explaining how to decode client instructions. And last but certainly not least will be Jessica, aka Jal, one of our very best authors here at Textbroker, and she's going to discuss how she got started and the best advice for making the most out of Textbroker. So once those three sessions of all those three speakers have spoken, we're going to go ahead and make this an open forum. So if anything is fair game, Q&A session. So starting right now and all through today's conference, you'll have the ability to submit questions in the chat box you'll see on the right side of the screen. And during our Q&A conference, I will try to get through all of the questions. If you have a question for me or anyone else speaking, please note that, and along with your question. So we do now want to get started, and I do see that you're all using the chat. That is fabulous. So I'm going to turn it over to Philip. Again, Philip is Textbroker's Chief Executive Officer. He's been with the company for 10 years, based out of our Las Vegas office. He is an expert on content marketing, content writing, and he's been an executive at the digital marketing companies since 2000. He has presented at conferences all over the world, and it seems only fitting to have him present the first session on this very first Textbroker Author Society Conference.
Thanks, Tammy. And having these conferences, and I think this first one is all about getting started at Textbroker. So I'm going to walk you through actually how Textbroker got started, and then give you some kind of statistics that I don't think we've ever shared publicly. So you'll get some numbers about things. I also want to talk a little bit about the basics of Textbroker, self-service, managed service, different kinds of order types. But I want to do that to kind of show you both from an author side and a client side, because I think as authors sometimes you don't have a chance to see kind of what clients see, how they're thinking about different services and order types. Okay, so just first, this real simple introduction, right? We're the leading freelance platform for content creation. Not sure if our US authors know how international we are. We have 10 different websites for different countries. These numbers blow me away, so I don't know if they'll blow you away, but over 14 million pieces of content delivered to our clients since we started. Over 1 million different authors have registered across our 10 websites, and over 500,000 clients have signed up across our various websites. In terms of how many people actually work, work sort of as employees for Textbroker, work in our offices when we go back to offices, That number right now is around 90. So let's talk a little bit about our mission statement. So our mission is to offer the best content possible to everyone, everywhere, for every situation. The team actually came up with that mission statement 10 years ago. So we had a big exercise, sort of said, hey, what's the best way to kind of frame our mission? And I think that mission is as applicable today as it was 10 years ago. So mission statements are good if they can kind of guide you for over long periods of time, and I think this one has done the job. And I think the key to this is that there's kind of two sides to our business, right? The authors and the clients, and the only way we deliver on this mission or accomplish this mission is to sort of be doing right by both of those sides, right? So there is no Textbroker without our authors. Of course, there's nothing for authors to do if we don't have clients. So we understand that both sides are really important. All right, so how did team here today is getting started. So how did Textbroker get started? And our company started, I think, like a decent number of companies, right? Somebody says, oh, I need a service. There's nobody providing this service. You know what? This is a business opportunity. I'm just going to do it myself. So that's the case with our founder, Jan Becker-Folkler. Always lives in Germany, based in Germany. He had some websites in German. This is 2005. Even back then, he knew that being ranked highly in Google was important. He knew that one of the ways to do that was to have good content on his websites. Dealing with he didn't want to write it himself. Dealing with freelance authors, kind of one at a time, two at a time, was very difficult, given the amount of content that he needed. So he said, you know what? I don't see anywhere where I can just go and sort of get as much content as I need. So I'm going to build this myself. So he built a website, had German authors sign up there. He posted all the assignments that he had. And then he told his friends, hey, I've done this cool thing. And they're like, that is awesome. Could I borrow your writers, or could I go onto your website or platform and use them as well? And so again, another light bulb kind of went off in his head, and he said, oh, that's a really interesting business idea. Maybe I can just open up this platform for anybody who needs content. So we did that in 2007. He launched Textbroker.de, again, for German writers. And, I just told you we've done 14 million pieces of content, so 87,000 does seem like a small number, but in year one, there were 87,000 assignments completed for the German clients who signed up. So he knew he had something that had some traction. He was sort of said, oh, if this is working in Germany, I think probably going to work in the US. So in 2008, we launched Textbroker.com. That's our site for just US authors. Things were going so well there that by 2009, he said, wow, I can't kind of service all these clients and authors from Germany. There's too much of a time delay. So we opened an office in the US, in Las Vegas. I think we've gone through 7 different offices in Las Vegas since 2009, but we've always been based in Las Vegas since then. That's our US headquarters. I joined the company in 2010, maybe not a huge milestone for the company, but a big one for me. And then from 2011 to 2013, it was really all about expansion. So we were hiring lots of people. That was kind of the push where I got hired. We opened up those 8 additional websites. We were only self-service in the beginning. So we launched managed service. And again, I'll go into more detail about managed service in a few minutes. In 2013, even though we just launched managed service, we already had clients like eBay and Thomson Reuters. Today we have a big roster of pretty impressive names, all sorts of different kinds of businesses using our managed service. I think authors might be interested in this. In 2014, as we were rolling out managed service and as it was growing, we said, you know what, we just need to hire more and more editors. So all these people, that's part of the reason we had a lot of different offices. We were hiring internal editors for managed service, we call managed client editors, in Las Vegas. And from 2015 to 2017, we kind of shifted our focus. We said, we have this great crowd of authors, and that seems to work really well. We've got so much going on. Let's kind of build a crowd of editors. So as an author, if you're kind of thinking about like, who am I talking to? Who am I dealing with if I'm doing a managed client order? Today, it's a combination, right? So we still have a bunch of folks in our Las Vegas office, and their main job is just to kind of do the managed client editorial. But then we also make use of a crowd of freelance managed client editors in the same way that we make use of the crowd of authors. In 2018, we hit a pretty big milestone. We got that 10 millionth order delivered, so we were pretty proud about that. And then in terms of what's happened the last couple years, absolutely in 2020, as with a lot of other businesses, kind of demand went down. Some of our largest clients sort of were impacted by COVID. Some of them are agencies. They in turn, had their clients kind of shutting down or stopping. And so we definitely saw a demand drop in 2020. But what's been interesting in 2021, and the pandemic certainly is not over yet, but as it is coming to a close, we are seeing that demand picking back up. And I think there's probably, since I've been here at least, I'm not sure there's a better time to be an author at Textbroker. There's a lot of choice. Clients really need the content. So we've seen cases where clients are willing to pay more money. They're willing to do bonuses or run programs. So I just think it's a really, really good time to be an author at Textbroker. Okay, so let's talk about self-service and managed service. And so these screenshots you're seeing, I think they're a little bit small, I apologize, but this is what a client sees if it's a self-service client and they're going to sign up at our website. So again, this is how we started. 100% of our orders were self-service orders in the early days. A client just goes to textbroker.com or goes to one of our other websites. They register with us, just give us a little bit of information. They do have to deposit money. We pay our authors every week. So we say to our clients, hey, you got to give us the money before you can place that order because we're going to hand that money over to the author pretty quickly. So they deposit funds. The next screenshot you see there is how they create an order. They have to give us the minimum words, maximum words, that kind of thing. And then they receive the content back from our authors, and hopefully our website is pretty good in terms of letting them manage that workflow and kind of see what's there. But in terms of an author perspective, right, if you're asking questions, if you're getting revision requests, that is coming from the client directly when it's a self-service client. We're really not sort of stepping in between there. We do run some plagiarism checks, as probably most of our authors know, and sometimes those checks catch stuff and we kind of look at things. But for the most part, if it's a self-service client, between the author and the client, you're having that communication on our platform, but you're having that communication directly. The other part of our business is managed service. It is smaller, right? So the majority of the orders that you'll ever see on Textbroker are self-service, but managed service is a pretty significant percentage. And here, clients, let's say in eBay, for example, clients say, listen, I just don't have the time. I don't have the internal resources. I'm not going to textbroker.com. I'm not logging in. I don't want to message the authors. I don't want to send revision requests to them. I want somebody to do all of that for me. And so what you see here, and I'm not going to go through each step, but this is kind of the steps that a managed client or somebody who's interested in managed service would kind of go through. And they're doing that with, if it's a US client, they're doing that with our team in Las Vegas. So we have salespeople, they're talking to salespeople. Once they get the project set up, they're dealing with a project manager, somebody who's based in Las Vegas in our office. They're doing through the editorial review. Again, as we talked about, that is kind of a combination of people in Las Vegas and some of our crowd. But yeah, so an eBay is going to say, hey, listen, we want Textbroker to kind of do all of that work for us. We need huge volumes of content. We can't possibly kind of review all of that ourselves. And so our goal for managed service most of the time is to deliver what we call publish-ready content. Right, so as we know, right, even newspaper writers, or journalists, they don't just write something and have it published in the newspaper. There's always an editorial review process. So for our managed clients, we're doing that. Hopefully for our self-service clients, they're doing the editorial review on their side. But for managed clients, we're absolutely doing it. And sometimes it can take a little bit longer. If you're an author and you're on a managed team, you may see that in the order briefing that, hey, this order may take a little bit longer to get approved. And the reason for that is that we're dealing with the client, and sometimes the client is not as quick as on the self-service side to get back to us. All right, so that's self-service versus managed service in terms of order types. And again, if you've been an author for any period of time, I'm sure you know these various order types, but I am going to kind of talk about them from both a perspective of an author and a client, which might be interesting. One set of numbers that is very recent data, right? This data on the right from May. And again, I'm not sure this is data that we've shared before, but this I think is interesting, should be interesting for authors to see the split between open orders, direct orders, team orders. So in the month of May, team orders were 42% of all orders. And if we had looked at this, if we had done this graph for May of 2019, certainly May of 2017, these numbers would actually be pretty different. Team orders have been going up. open orders as a percentage have been going down. Open orders are still 41%, right? So there's still a lot going on in the open order pool. But I think if you're an author with us, I think you should be open to the various kind of ways that clients order. If you want to be on a team, we actually happen to have the person who's in charge of that. So Tammy is the one who is constantly sort of helping our project managers figure out, which authors make sense for teams, reaching out to authors to see if they'll be willing to join. We've got teams for the most part are for 4- and 5-star writers, but we certainly have some teams for 3-star writers. So Tammy's the one to reach out, and Tammy's going to let you know about how to do that. And then 17% of our orders are direct orders. And so what that means is the client is just saying, hey, I'm not putting this out to the entire pool of writers. I'm not even putting this out to a team of 2+ writers. I just want to work with one specific writer. And we'll get into details on that in 1 second. But let's start with open orders. So that screenshot you see on the left, that is what an author sees. So if you're an author who's thinking about Textbroker, have not signed up yet, I've kind of compressed what you would see. So it would be that chart would be a lot bigger. But basically, every time a client orders, they have to tell us what category are they, is this content going to be about? Is it automobiles? Is it travel? Is it finance? Is it sports? And so as an author, if we've got 2,000 orders available, which I think this morning is the number we have, if there's 2,000 orders available, right, you could take hours just to pick the one that makes the most sense for you. So we try to make it easy. We sort of show you if it's going to be an open order, we show you all the various categories, we show you all the various star levels. If it's me, if I'm a 4-star writer, I love sports, so I'm probably going to go to the 4-star column. I'm going to go to the row that says sports, and at the intersection of that, I'm going to see a number. I'm going to click on that number. I can't read it, but let's say it's 7. If I click on that number 7, I'm going to see the 7 sports-related assignments available for 4-star authors at this very moment. I can only, as an open order, I can only pick one of these 2,000 choices. I can only pick one at a time. I can't pick up another one until I've submitted the first one. From a client's perspective, this typically gets them really quick turnaround times. And if they don't quite care about, working with a specific author or team of authors, this is the way for a client to go. I think on the author side, a lot of benefits of open orders, as we saw, there's a lot of them, right? 41% of our orders are open orders. You've got lots of projects to pay for. You sort of know exactly kind of what's going on. You can do them whenever you want. So that's open orders. Direct order, as I mentioned, that's when a client is coming directly to one author and saying, hey, you're the author for me. I want you to write this assignment. I don't want to give anybody else a chance to do it. So from a client's perspective, what you're seeing here is a screenshot of the author search. So I'm not sure if you know how you look or what it looks like when a client is doing an author search and you show up, but they see your star level. If you've provided a photo, which I always think is a good idea, they see your photo. They can sort of see the background of the author, all the things that we sort of ask you to fill out on the author profile side. I think it's really beneficial to do that. It's nice, I think, to have direct order clients. And so if you haven't filled that out, then when somebody is doing a search and saying, hey, who's the right author for me, they might not pick you, not because you're not the best, just because you haven't given them enough information. On the author side, right, I think it is nice to have those not in a sense be competing, right? Those orders are yours. You have the ability to set your own price. You can set sort of a default price for anybody who's kind of looking for you to do a direct order, but you also can change that price. If there's a client who says, hey, I really want to use you, but there's a ton of research involved, you can say, hey, that's great, but I can't do that for my normal price per word. I'm going to have to make it higher. Or you might have a client who say, hey, I've got a ton of orders. Anyway, you give me a bit of a price break, and you have the ability to do that. So yes, for you, I'm going to lower my price per word, let's say 10%, something like that. And then finally, team orders. I'd say team orders are kind of like a hybrid between open orders and direct orders. So the client can kind of figure out, hey, I need a lot of content. It's more than just one author can provide. But I want to make sure I know who's which authors are working on my team. I want a little bit more control. I want the ability to message them in a really easy manner. So for the most part, managed service is going to be team orders, right? So our project managers in our Las Vegas office, they really like using team orders to build a team for that client, for that project, and be able to communicate with the team and sort of make sure everything's going the way it should. From an author's perspective, right? If you get on a team, kind of you're not competing with as many people, and you're going to keep getting orders about that same subject, that same topic. So again, totally recommend that you, if you haven't done it already, or if you're thinking about getting started with Textbroker, be open to those team orders. In terms of author onboarding, if you haven't quite gotten started yet, really easy to register with us. You're going to send us a writing sample. Desiree, who I know you're really going to enjoy hearing from her. I'm sure you have a lot of questions for a ratings editor, but Desiree and the team that she's on is going to be the one that reads that writing sample, going to give you a rating, and then we don't just give you a rating and then disappear. I think our ratings editors do a great job of trying to give you continual feedback. They're also obviously continually rating you, and we do expect authors to live up to that rating. But yeah, the one part that's not actually on this chart is we do have a verification process. We do need to make sure that all of our authors are eligible to work in the US, and so we take that very seriously. But yeah, pretty simple overall to kind of just get going and start writing. In terms of author support, like I said, there is no Textbroker without authors. Our goal with that ratings process is we call it QA rating editors, right? So it's quality assurance. And that's important, right? And I know we've had authors who say, well, geez, I've been a 4-star writer for a long time and you just made me a 3-star. I had a bad day. And I totally get that, right? We all have bad days, but you have to think about it from a client's perspective. Let's say there was a relatively new client who might have placed 1,000 orders. You have a bad day and they're like, oh, well, this is Textbroker. They told me this was 4-star. It's got mistakes. I'm not going to use Textbroker. So in a weird, I know this is going to sound weird, but part of the reason we do QA is not just for the clients, but it's also for our pool of authors, right? We don't want any one author to sort of mess, sort of a relationship up or damage the ability of all of our other authors to have lots of choices and lots of clients and lots of orders. So that QA function actually serves in both cases. And again, we're not just giving you ratings. Desiree, when she's looking at something you've written, she's giving you advice. It is absolutely in our best interest that our writers become better over time. And so here are a couple more numbers that I don't think we've kind of ever released, but we looked over 55,000 orders last year, right? So Desiree and the folks who are in that similar position across all of our offices, they looked at 55,000 different submissions. And again, didn't just look at them to get to give them a rating, but also every time we look at them, we're trying to sort of say, hey, we think you could do better with this. You're having a comma issue. Let me sort of send you a link to something we've written about doing commas better. So that is the intent of this. It's not just we're trying to be the police. We're trying to be coaches. We're trying to help you get better. And it's never more, it's never a happier day for us than when we can promote somebody, right? So somebody goes from 2-star to 3-star, 3-star to 4-star, especially 4-star to 5-star. We did that 1,700 times last year. So 1,700 times authors got promoted, which is a number we wish could be as high as possible. And then on the left-hand side, you can see all the various resources we have for you. We've got forums, we've got our blog, we've got a Textbroker Author Society for the first time. So if you've got any ideas or things that you wish Textbroker was doing to help you more, please let us know. And then I'm going to wrap up really quickly. I always think it's interesting to know that the business you're in is growing. And so I can tell you without a doubt that the demand for content is growing. It's been, it sort of hiccuped a little bit last year as the pandemic started. But for the last 10 years, 11 years, it's been growing. We don't see any reason why that's going to stop. Lots and lots of businesses realize that they already use content marketing. They realize they need it. They realize that it works, better than a lot of the other kind of things that they might do on the marketing side. And then on this side, in terms of why do they use Textbroker, or are they going to continue to use Textbroker? These numbers sort of say yes on the left, the two numbers on the left, and then the numbers on the right. If you are a freelance author, you are part of a growing trend. Freelance writing has been around forever, long before the internet. But I think this idea of being a freelancer, being a gig worker, being able to control your schedule, being able to kind of take control, being able to work from home, that's been growing, and as everything we read and see is that's only going to continue growing. And so with that, I will. Oh, I went too far. With that, I will wrap it up. But yeah, like I said, an absolute pleasure for me to be able to have this forum to sort of communicate with authors. You are so valuable. We get it, and we really, if you haven't started yet, we really look forward to hopefully having a great relationship with you.
Thank you, Philip. That was great. Remember that if you have any questions for Philip, please put them in the chat and I will ask them during our Q&A session. So next presenting will be Desiree. Again, she is with the Community and Quality Editors here at Textbroker. So she is one of the editors that will review your initial writing sample and work with our clients. She'll be going over the client instructions with you today. So I will get that.
Hi everyone, I'm Desiree. I am one of your quality editors. As you can see, I am not a robot. None of us are robots here, and we do really want to help you improve here at Textbroker. So the feedback we leave is just to put you on the right track. If you do want to get from 4-star to 5-star or 3-star to 4-star, we're certainly here to help you. We have lots of resources to share with you, blogs and grammar resources that we can provide. And if you have any QA questions for me, please put them in the chat as they occur to you, and we will get to them at the end. So I've chosen to talk to you about instruction compliance. It's a pretty big deal, so I figured it would be helpful to give you some tips. So first, why is it such a big deal? Instruction compliance is really important because every order that the client places on the platform, they have a specific goal in mind for that content. So for instance, if they're asking you to write them a blog, they're hoping that it's going to increase traffic to their website. They're hoping to increase customer engagement. They want to increase sales. And you're also helping to establish them as an authority on the topic that you're writing. So it's very beneficial. Those are all the things that they're hoping to gain from the content. But it's also great for the author to follow these instructions because if the client notices that you're writing well for them and consistently and with few revision requests, it translates into more direct order opportunities for you. That's great because you can set your own price and you can develop a more personal relationship with the client. And then, you get to know what the client is looking for and that, you can provide that. So direct opportunities are great. We also notice if you're following instructions well and with few revision requests, and that can translate into more team orders. You can start writing managed client team orders. I will pass that information along, or rather, I will pass your information along to Tammy, and she'll get you some invites. And it's awesome to fill out your interests on your profile because we get to know what you like to write about, and then we can provide you team invites for similar topics. So we want to get you writing teams and direct orders. So instruction compliance is one of the ways to get there. So I'd like to get into some general tips about orders and the kind of how to tackle those instructions. Whenever I'm met with a brand new set of instructions, no matter how long, I always take short, quick notes on open orders. But how do you know which notes to take? I always take note of voice. It's really important to know how you should be talking to your audience throughout the work. So voice would be first person, second person, or third person voice. It's always a good idea to look for phrasing like, if you don't do this, then I will send a revision request or something along those lines. Clients will phrase instructions that way because they have noticed that authors are missing that particular instruction often. So, they really want you to take notice of that. Any kind of a minimum of hyperlinks or a minimum amount of the keyword that you need to use, those are great to take notice of because if there's a specific minimum that they want you to meet, you can guarantee they're going to count it when they receive your order. It's also great to take note of special keyword instructions. You need to know if where you need to use the keyword in the content. You need to know maybe how. Some of our clients are particular about where exactly it needs to be, so always take note of how you should be using your keywords. So our next tip here is rely on the instructions because they are always correct. Well, what does that mean? So if you follow what's there, then you're in the clear. When the client doesn't like the content or they're rejecting it for some reason, I will go in and review that rejection. And if you follow the instructions, you're great. Now, if you get a revision request from the client and it has contradictory information or it's wildly different from the original briefing instructions, please reach out to us. Please let us know that kind of thing so that we can help you, or rather guide you on the best next course of action. However, if it's a minor change, such as they want you to take something out, they would like you to rephrase something, or fine-tune a keyword, that kind of thing, because it's such a minor thing, we do ask that you would comply with that, as long as it's not taking up so much of your time. Yeah, please do that kind of thing. That would be good. So, and the next tip is whenever you're in doubt, like no matter what it is, please reach out. We are here to help you. We would love to help you. And so, like, who do you reach out to though? Well, when you have a contradiction in the instructions or you need some kind of clarification on the instructions, reach out to the client. The best way to do that is to, in your order briefing, or rather at the top of the order, you will see the client ID in orange. If you click that, it will take you to the client profile and you will see write a message. If you click on write a message, from there it functions just like an email and you'll be able to communicate with the client there. It's always great to chat with the client if you need any kind of clarification. Now, if you're having a technical issue with the system, if you have some kind of concern with the revision request, you're not sure if this is the right thing to comply with, or anything that's that feels kind of wrong, definitely reach out to us at authors@textbroker.com and we will help you out. Alrighty, so let's get into some tips on open orders. So the open orders are right when you get started. These are all the orders that you'll be able to see when you go and to select from the categories. When you're clicking on an order that interests you, a topic, a title that interests you, you will see a range of briefings. The briefings contain the instructions. The instructions could range from a single sentence to multiple paragraphs. You might even have a sample article just pasted into the briefing. You'll see all kinds of things. So that's why we provide a Textbroker template for some of our newer clients or for clients who just need a little bit of help letting you know what they need. We paste that into there, and sometimes they just leave the whole template there. So I wanted to help familiarize you with this. It usually starts with please do not pick up this order unless you can begin work on it immediately. And then you will see like type of content or formatting requirements, followed by parentheses and some examples. So what you're looking for is the information after the parentheses. So for instance, the type of content, we're giving them an idea of what to request. So a blog, an article, product description, that kind of thing. At the end of those parentheses, the client will usually just write blog, or article, that kind of thing. So you're looking for information after the parentheses. A tip that I would give you about the template is to check certain elements of the template. So for instance, you want to know, you want to focus on the target audience. We mentioned this earlier. The target audience shapes relatable information that you might include in your order. The voice is really important to keep in mind because that shapes how you're talking to your audience. So if you're talking with a first person plural voice, which sounds like we are, you're usually speaking from the point of view of the company. And so that will change how you're writing it. Second person voice is how you're addressing the audience. So are you addressing with you, your, that kind of thing? And then third person is they, them. People usually look after their things, that kind of thing. So that would be third person voice. I would recommend checking out the formatting requirements. Usually you will see HTML instructions there. HTML is always great to brush up on, especially with the kinds of orders the clients are requesting. So they may ask you to use an H1, H2, or H3 header. H1 is usually your biggest header. It's usually the title. H2 helps you break up the content into digestible chunks. And these headers are great because it improves the readability of your order. Resources, that's another element to keep in mind. Here you will find the links that you should use while you are writing your order. Some of these orders are going to require light, medium, or heavy research. Sometimes the clients will provide you with links to help get you started on your research. So resources is always a great place to look. Examples will be the competitor, it may be competitor content that the client likes. It could be links of the formatting that they would like you to use, that sort of thing. And of course, if you're not sure, if it's just a link, right, and you're not sure what to do with that, please reach out to us or reach out to the client for clarification. Alrighty, so let's get into manage client team orders. Hopefully we get to manage client team orders. I totally recommend them because you get more volume and more consistent instructions. I like them. So when you start writing on managed client teams, you will notice that the formatting of the instructions is pretty different. We will use a Google Doc to help format the instructions because they're usually more detailed. You will see more information about the company's purpose, and specific formatting requirements that go a little deeper than the open order template. You will also notice that there is a project manager for managed client teams. And their information will be listed at the end of the document. You will also notice the manage clients at textbroker.com email that you can reach out to the kind of general managed client department so that we can help address any questions that you have. If the project manager is unavailable, it's always great to hit both of those emails. So for tips, I would recommend taking notes. However, the managed client instructions may change, and this is because we're always getting feedback from the client based on how the project is going. So any kind of feedback, oh, actually, I didn't quite like this kind of header, can we change it to this? We try to get that to you as quickly as possible. We try to let you know when these changes occurred because you may be taking your own notes or you may be used to writing something a certain way. We want to let you know as soon as we can. And you will find that information in the change log at the top of the Google Doc. This will be time-stamped. It will also be highlighted in a particular color. And the relevant changes in the instructions, in the body of the instructions, will be highlighted in that color so you can easily find it. So always check that out. If you're going to take your own notes, make sure that they match with the Google Doc that you're working from. Samples are usually provided in these Google Doc instructions. Always review the samples because it kind of gives you an idea of what you're looking or what your content should look like at the end. However, because some of these projects are newer, we might not have the perfect sample. We might only have a sample that displays the right tone or the right layout, and these specifications will be noted within the doc. Like, hey, this is an example of tone, rather than please follow this exactly. So those notes are always there. HTML is more important in managed client team orders, I would say. And so continue to brush up on your HTML. We have resources. If you have questions about HTML, you can reach out to us. And there's usually sample HTML in the Google Doc. It will show you what your link is supposed to look like, that kind of thing. Your HTML coding does not count toward the minimum word count of your order, though. So one way that we like to get a great word count is by rendering the HTML and then copying what you have and then checking in Microsoft Word, or you can just check your word count without the coding to get the best minimum word count. And then finally, when in doubt, please don't assume. If you have any kind of question, it's just you don't want to work hard in a whole order and find out that you were kind of going in the wrong direction. If you have any kind of concerns or any doubt, please reach out to us. Again, the information for the project manager and the general managed client's email is located at the end of the sheet in the general section. Alrighty, so I really hope that was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions about QA, please keep posting those in the chat. And I guess I'll chat with you guys at the end.
Thank you so much, Desiree. We really appreciate it. Again, if you do have any questions for Desiree, please make sure that you are putting those in the chat. So again, thank you so much for doing that. Now, our next presenter is Jessica, and or AKA Jal. Jessica is one of Textbroker's best and most prolific writers. She's a 4-star author with us and has been writing since 2011. Jessica has written over 40,000 articles with us in that time. Amazing. She will be starting off today on how she got started with Textbroker, which I think is the best place to start with her. So,
hello. Thank you. So I've had a lifelong love of writing. Started when I was a kid, and I remember this 5th grade report about cats, and the other kids turned in one that was like a paragraph or two, and mine was 5 pages long and went into extreme detail. So this continued through my education. I earned a master's degree, and we had an option to take an exam to complete our degree requirement or write a thesis. So of course I chose the thesis option, and mine ran on for 178 pages, which was a little excessive now that I think about it. So after I finished my master's degree, I actually went into a government job in my field. So I had an 8-to-5 for several years. The Great Recession happened, which was 2007, 2008, and my husband got reorganized out of a job. So I started to look at side streams of income, and I came across freelance writing. So I wrote for a couple of places for a few years, in addition to working a 40-hour-a-week job. And then I had another child, and things were just really busy. So I decided to leave my 40-hour-a-week job and focus on my family and build up the writing. So I left my full-time job in September 2011, and I found Textbroker the next month. And it was like a blessing in disguise because I had a friend who connected me. So I did what Desiree talked about and what Philip talked about. I did the initial couple of writing samples. I think I had maybe a 1 or 2 week wait to get rated. I was rated as a 4-star to start with, and then I was good to go. My goal at first was to earn $100 a week. So at that time I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I was pretty busy, but I looked at different teams. I think one of my first teams was a roofing company. And we had a home and it was like the money pit. So I was learning all kinds of stuff about roof problems and heat pump problems and basement problems all at once. So I thought, oh, well, I can certainly write about roofing issues. And my master's degree is in public health. So that was also something I initially focused on, was the health and the science topics that I could find. So it wasn't too long before I was meeting that $100 a week goal, which for me was awesome because that was what I cleared from my 40 an hour a week job after I paid for full-time childcare, my union dues, my bus pass, my professional work wardrobe, and everything else that goes into a regular job. And what I really liked the most was the flexibility that I had, because I felt like somebody else was raising my kids when I was at a 40 an hour a week job. But with Textbroker, I got to raise my kids, and I had the satisfaction of using my knowledge and experience. So that was how I got started. So it's been almost 10 years now.
So how did you find like the subject versus voice? Like what did you, like how did you kind of figure them out or find your niche, I guess is the best way to put it?
Well, going back to that thesis, so I'm not like a flowery writer. There will be some open order clients and some teams. They say they want very exuberant language, and that's just not me. I like the more authoritative voice or style. I can do that in first, second, or third person. Health topics especially tend to lend themselves to writing with a firm, authoritative voice. Do this to prevent that, or do this to get better. So I generally focused on that, as well as the roofing home types of issues. Like if you see that your basement wall is bowing by more than 1/4 of an inch, you need to call for repairs. So that's a concrete, authoritative voice that doesn't require any extra words at all. So that's really what I prefer. It's just not in my nature to add a whole bunch of adjectives or exclamation points in my writing.
Thank you. Well, when you started moving up and started doing other, kind of branching out, I guess, how did you research some of these topics? I mean, there probably was some research that you had to kind of start off with.
Right. So I didn't know like what exactly a capacitor was in a heat pump, or what a hex bolt was for. So when I would come across something that looked like, well, I think I can write that product description or this facts article, and some clients will ask you to include a hyperlink or footnotes with references at the bottom of that lends authority to their website, and then they get more traffic too. So going back to what I did before I started freelance writing, in public health and in graduate school, we had to learn about quality research and references. So in health, that was like the Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, PubMed, National Library of Medicine, any peer-reviewed published journal. So those aren't exclusive to health. There are similar things for other topics as well. So for home type of things, county extension service websites are a really good resource. Family Handyman is a good resource. This Old House, I go there for personal and professional reasons for their tips. So there are all kinds of resources. They're for any topic. What I don't use is like the wikis, and a lot of clients will say avoid any wiki, don't use somebody's blog, because really anybody can write a wiki or a blog, and those are not authoritative resources.
So, and this is probably something that I haven't looked at the chat, but this is probably has come up because how do you maximize your time? I mean, you just said you have children, you have a family, you have how do you maximize your time?
Right. So now I have 3 kids, and they are all in school. So there's always stuff going on. Team orders have been a really good way for me to maximize my time. Desiree got into a lot of that, but one of the things that I like about it is the consistency of the instructions. So if you get on a team and it's posting orders on a regular basis, you can familiarize yourself with the instructions and you don't have to relearn the whole thing every time. So that saves you a lot of time. And like Desiree mentioned, the change log, always go there so you don't miss anything. It only takes a minute to see if there's like a change on the change log. And then since it's highlighted, you can quickly find what was it that changed. So just being familiar with the team order instructions is really how I have managed to maximize my time. I do try to set sort of a schedule for myself. Now, like Philip was talking about, COVID has thrown everybody for a loop. For my kids, our school district shut down in March of 2020. They said it was going to be an extended spring break. Yeah, so they were out of school for a whole year. They didn't go back in person. And so that meant I had to be a teacher and an IT professional and also try to do my own stuff while somebody was having a fit that their Zoom wouldn't connect and somebody else couldn't find the ruler that was clearly in the drawer labeled school supplies. So I had to rework when I do my things a little bit. I have a slight insomnia problem, so there are plenty of times when I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning and the house is quiet. So I will get started on things at unusual times. If that's the best 4-hour block of writing that I have, that's when I write. During the school day, when the kids were finally settled into their stuff and it was quiet for 45 minutes, I made a point now where with a lot of the team orders, I know the instructions, it's like the document is right there in my brain and I can see the whole thing. So I can just get started right away. And after you've written so many, when is it time to replace my AC compressor orders? You don't have to do so much research anymore. So that also saves a lot of time and you can just get started right away. So it cuts down on the research efforts that you have to do.
I like that. Well, when you, why do you say that, like when you were saying earlier, that you consider managed teams mostly? So could you go into a little more on that?
The managed teams have a really clear outline, which I like. I have a type A personality, so I like instructions. The more detail, the better. There are some managed teams, like Philip mentioned a couple of them for worldwide national clients that have had super long briefings. Sometimes those briefings have gotten up to 13 pages, and I've seen a few of the other authors, and they're going, why are the briefings so long? I've been there. I totally get that. But they're telling you exactly what they want.
Yeah.
And the managed teams, you can go in there and find exactly everything you need to put in the article, and it's right there in order. You can follow each step. It's like, it's not like putting together an IKEA furniture. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing when. There's no guesswork. So I think that really saves a lot of time. Another thing with the managed teams is once you're on one and you find you like writing about that topic, you can reach out to the team manager and say, hey, I'm really enjoying this food service ordering menus team. Do you have any other ones that are like the...
Oh, it looks like we've lost you a little bit there, Jess.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's happened a couple times for me. What's going on? I've got the fastest speed internet because, like I said, with
Well,
everyone-
it is okay. That's not a problem. I mean, the world we live in today. So, Jess, if you want to go ahead, and we're going to wait for you to connect here. Yeah, it's just still connecting a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll give you a little bit of chance to get back situated, and then again, this is a great place, and I do have a couple other questions, but we'll see if we can save time. So once Jessica's getting back on, but I just wanted to put again to remind you all, if you have a question, please make sure you put it in the chat. If you can, and you know who it's kind of directed to, please make sure to note that. And I will go ahead and go through those questions at the end. So again, please make sure to just kind of go through that. And it looks like Jessica is getting back on. So we will give her just a moment. Jessica, can you hear us? Not a problem. We'll go ahead and let her, it still looks like she's having connection issues, which not a problem. So what we'll go ahead and do is I'm going to kind of turn it over. If you can give me just a moment. I'm going to have everybody kind of get back on. So that way we can ask some of the questions and we can direct them out. And Jill, when you are able to get on, please make sure you, just go back on the stage. And if you do not, and you can still hear us, if something is directed towards you, just please answer in the chat. So if you guys can give me just a moment, I'm going to look at our questions and just actually start from the top.
Sorry.
No, you are fine. It's this day and age. Don't worry about it. So,
did you have any more last questions for Jessica?
I was going to ask one last question. What other advice would you give? Just for somebody that's either starting out, hasn't actually applied yet, or, just looking for their first article, so what other advice would you give? I
would say be willing to branch out and take a risk. I'm pretty risk averse myself. I don't like to put myself out there too far, but sometimes it's easy to get a little too comfortable and you're writing the same things all the time and you're getting a little formulaic, and Desiree's team will send you a message telling you to quit using the same verbs and phrasing all the time because the client wants their content to be a little bit different so they can get better rankings on Google. So my last tip would be to try something different once in a while, beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of years ago, there was a client who produced adult toys and they wanted descriptions for those. And I was like, I've heard about hex bolts. I think I could write about those. So it was a little different for me because they did want that flowery language and they wanted it in great detail. So that was a risk, and I actually really enjoyed it. So if you can get that client back, that could be fun.
Well, I appreciate you answering all my questions. I know I kind of bombarded you with those. So, again, I've asked plenty of questions, and I will go through the chat because you're probably tired of listening to my voice. So give me just a moment, and I will start pulling up some of the questions here.
Right, Tammy is doing that. I think I can see, I don't know if everybody can see this, but I think I see 56 questions from the chat, which is awesome. I think we are going to try to keep it to about 30 minutes of Q&A, so we will go through as many questions as we can in those 30 minutes.
So our first question is, I guess this would be more, I will say this directed towards Philip. Will there be a chance for an in-person conference next year in Las Vegas?
I would love that. I would love to just see the team back in our office, which is I think only a few weeks away. We have tried that in the past. Jessica, I don't know if you remember this, but we did something called Author Day. I want to say it was like 2012, 2013, somewhere there. We did Author Day. We sort of invited people to Las Vegas. We had the whole day scheduled. We had guest speakers. We had our staff there. and I think we had 4 people show up. And I think it's just a function of, you know what, that's not, people have lives, they're busy, it's not that cheap to come to Las Vegas. So I think it's a great idea. We actually did try it. I think now that through, this software and Zoom and things like that, it's so easy to be able to kind of do video things like this. Some hiccups, as we know, nothing's ever perfect, but pretty easy. So I think the Textbroker Author Society, we're going to try to keep doing those, try to keep expanding the topics we cover. So hopefully that kind of gets you introduced to more and more people at Textbroker, hear what we're thinking. We'll keep that in the back of the mind, but yeah, I think it's just the U.S. is such a big country. It can be difficult to get sort of a critical mass when asking people to come to Las Vegas.
Well, thank you, Phil. I have actually another question for you. This is kind of a 3-part, so.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go. So the first question is Textbroker considered to be a direct marketing company?
I would say that we are, I'd say we're sort of in the content marketing services business. I don't know, we're certainly I'd say we're in the marketing field. The vast majority of the orders that we get, it's because companies are trying to market themselves. As I had that statistic earlier about content marketing and how it's more effective than other forms of marketing and how more and more people are using it. So yeah, I think we're sort of in the marketing space, and we are trying to help companies with their marketing. So from that perspective, we're a B2B company, business to business company. Our clients are not consumers for the most part. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Well, I think you might have answered the next one, and if more of the Textbroker clients are B2C or B2B clients.
Got it. In terms of what our clients do, there's something called sometimes companies do what's called a persona project, right? So you try to say, what does the typical Textbroker client look like? And I think if you do it well, you might even give that fictional person a name and an age, and are they male, are they female? And you base that on a survey that you do of your clients, and you kind of try to find that sweet spot of like, oh, this person is what our typical Textbroker client looks like. So we did that. We did that in 2018, and we couldn't come up with one persona. I think in the end we had 6. So it's small businesses, it's agencies, advertising agencies, SEO agencies, it's big e-commerce companies, it's big companies that have, in some cases, thousands of clients, right? They provide local marketing services, right? So Jessica was talking about roofing. We actually happen to have a lot of roofing articles. We have a lot of air conditioning and heating repair articles. That's not coming from one company. That's coming from agencies that specialize in that. And so in turn, they have 100, 500 different roofing companies as their clients. And that's part of why, our founder coming up with this idea was such a good idea, in that scale, right? If you're an agency and you have 500 roofing clients, you kind of need similar articles 500 times because every single one of those websites needs unique content. So it's a good question. There's no one typical kind of Textbroker client. Any company, any size company you can imagine, any industry you can imagine, I'm sure we've have those people as clients.
And last, because I would like to know this also, so thank you, Sheila, for putting this in. Have you also heard of the term the leap, referring to the growth in content marketing in 2021? I think there was kind of a leap in a lot of things as a result of the pandemic, primarily anything that sort of online, delivered to your home, right? We were all stuck at home, and Jessica's kids still haven't gone back to school. So that leap is across a lot of different industries, right? If you're a travel company, or a movie theater, it's been a pretty tough year. But if you're Amazon, if you're companies like that, it's been a pretty unbelievably good year. I don't think we did not see the leap because I think as soon as the pandemic started, we had a whole bunch of clients who were impacted and they could just kind of shut everything down. And so that's why I mentioned this at the very beginning. That's why our order volume actually dropped when the pandemic started. And so, yeah, certainly some clients disappeared completely. Certain clients slowed down. But yeah, we definitely had a lot of clients who went up because their business was going up. It's interesting. Sometimes when your business is doing really well,
you actually don't need to market, or you don't even want to market because you already have more than you can handle. And so I think we saw a little bit of that. There's a few big clients I'm thinking of who typically order a ton of stuff from us, and they were doing great during the pandemic, but they slowed down with us because their business was going so well. They're like, well, we don't really need to spend money on marketing right now, so we're going to put a pause on that. So yeah, I think that leap. Listen, the pandemic just impacted almost everybody in so many different ways. It definitely impacted us, but it does feel like we're kind of coming out of it, and things are starting to get back to normal.
Well, thank you, Sheila, for your question. The next one is from Jamie, and actually I'm going to address this to Jessica because I think you'll probably be able to answer this a little better. Jamie says that I just barely started with Textbroker days ago. Is the blog the best resource for training to give me a good start? I'm feeling a bit lost and overwhelmed.
So the blog has some good resources and information on very particular topics that you will want to know more about. I suggest looking at Textbroker University too. That's also an excellent resource on how to make the most of the platform. And then there are some general grammar and writing resources, like Grammarly is a good one. You might, if you don't already have a copy of the AP handbook, or just a general like copywriting manual, get that on your e-reader or have a physical copy of it nearby. As far as feeling a little overwhelmed, that can happen, especially when you take a look at the open order pool and you're like, wow, there's 1,000 orders in level 3. That's great, but how do I even narrow that down? I could spend, like Philip said, like a whole day looking through all these trying to pick one, and you definitely don't want to do that. So I would say focus on your niche first. If you're a home healthcare worker, look in the health articles. If you've done a lot of fast food work, look in the food and hospitality types of articles.
And Tammy, I would add to that one, we've got an author forum, so if you're brand new, you may not have noticed that. But if you're on right when you log into your Textbroker author account, at the nav bar at the top, if you kind of sort of hover your mouse, you'll see forum there. We've got an author-to-author forum, and our authors are awesome at welcoming newbies and giving them advice and encouraging them. And then Desiree said this a few times. I think I said it. Reach out to us, yes. Right? She is off camera, so I know there's a lot of authors who've heard the name Carlene before. Carlene is actually in this room. She's off camera. She has a whole team of people who their job is to help our authors any way we possibly can. So if you're sort of have any kind of questions like that, it's authors@textbroker.com. If it's something about managed clients, it's managedclients@textbroker.com. But yeah, please ask us.
And I will go ahead and put those. We're not expecting you to remember those every time we've said those. I will go ahead and put those emails up at the end here, so you'll have a bit of a time to write those down. So again, thank you, Jamie, for asking that question. So to kind of keep going, because there is quite a few questions, so I want to try to get as many through as many as we can. Desiree, this is going to be to you. So Nicholas asked, how often will we receive a rating review?
Okay, I saw this in the chat as well, and I was burning to tell you. It depends on how often you write, for sure. The more you write, the more we see that, the more that our system says, oh, this is a very active writer, so, let's check out the quality. So definitely the more you write, the more we're going to be able to see you. I also noticed that people were wondering, when do I get my first rating? So after you submit your writing sample and you get that first rating, you will get your first official rating, and this will be very detailed. We'll highlight the errors, or we'll highlight and tell you some notes on what you're writing. This happens after 5 orders, and that will depend on how quickly you are writing those orders and how quickly they are being accepted by the client. So as soon as your client has accepted all of your first 5 orders, then we will give you a rating as soon as we can.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of ask you, I'm going to kind of go another one here because it looks like there's quite a few different questions that kind of ask all about the HTML. Mainly, how do they, again, when you said earlier about the word counter, so, could you go into a little more detail about that? And is there any one source or something that you could give as a reference to direct them to where they might learn more about the HTML?
Okay, yes. So first, let me clear that up a little bit. With HTML contributes to the word count, you will have the code. And the code will look like a caret and then like a letter B or strong and then a closed caret. I think caret is the correct term, but if not, I'm not a robot, so if you have spacing around your coding, that will contribute to the word count. The word counter will think that it's a word when it's not. So that's why that is the standard for managed client orders. That's why we want to check the word count without the coding. You will be able to submit a order that's technically under word count, even though you have the coding in there, because of that spacing issue. So you could reduce that like word inflation by omitting spaces between the specific codes and no spaces between the words. And this might be hard to imagine. So I will provide the Textbroker blog on HTML that you can check out. And of course, we can give you more information, like if you're writing an order and you're just not clear on that. But I would recommend a HTML. There's not one like awesome great source. I just use any one that I find on Google that will render my HTML for me. This helps me check to make sure that the HTML is correct. So if I'm using bold coding, I want to make sure that the word is actually turning bold. And then once all of your HTML is rendered and you don't actually see the coding anymore, you can copy and you can copy that. And there are certain tools for Google Chrome that will count the words for you if you don't have Microsoft Word to paste into there, into the Microsoft Word program to check your word count. You can just use any word counter that you would find on Google. Do you have any tips, Jessica, for HTML?
So it's the less than and greater than symbols. The chatting thing was like wanting to turn them into something for me. So it was trying to do yeah. So I use a Chromebook for writing, and so I just use Google Docs, and it's got a word counter right in there, and it will count characters as well as whole words. There are some orders where they want a meta description of 150 characters or less. So you will use both of those tools. There are also some free online ones like wordcounter.net or whatever, where you just paste your text in and it'll tell you both word and character counts with and without spaces.
Did we answer that question fully, Tammy?
Yeah,
okay.
I think you did. Thank you. Now, I'm going to kind of jump on this because something you just said using the word, and I do see quite a few questions, so I think this will answer a few people's. Do you save your writing or save your research so that you can use those for future orders, or use that when you, just in case you have a backup for your order? So I guess that would be more towards Jessica, sorry.
Yes, I do. I save them in my Google Docs. So if something were to happen to my Chromebook and I had to use a different device, I just need to log into my Google account and I've got it all there, all saved. It's easy to access that. I give it the client title, and then I put the order ID in there too, because the Google Docs has a search tool, so you can type in any string of text or numbers and it will find that in all of your documents, and then it'll give you a list of your results. So if you got a revision and you're like, wait, what did I write about that? Or if it's been revised a couple times, then you can go back and see what you've done each time. Or if it's a team that you haven't written for in a while and you're like, wait, what's the format of that? Or what resources did I use? You can go back and get that really quickly without having to reinvent your resource wheel.
No, that's great advice. Thank you. So I'll answer this one actually, because this one said, I've been wondering if you could write books for a client, and is that only through direct order? Yes and no. We have, has there been direct orders that for those? Yes. We have a client on our managed client team right now that is writing a book, and we're doing it through sections, so it comes through managed client. So the answer is yes, definitely could write some of those. So I thought I would take one for off the team. That was one I could definitely answer for everybody. So I'm going to ask, kind of this is a general, I guess more for Philip, because will this conference be transcribed? Will we be placing this somewhere?
So yes, so we are recording, and so hopefully relatively quickly we will get the recording out there. I don't know if we're going to do just one long recording, or we might split it up into our various sections, you know, just me, just Desiree, just Jessica. But yes, this will, and we will let everybody know. We send out an author email newsletter, so we'll put it in there. I'm sure we'll put it in the chat and other places. So yes, you will be easily, if you're a Textbroker writer, it will be easy to find a video replay of this.
So I am going to thank you again, Philip, for that, because I would like, you know, again, I like to go back and, you know, look at stuff over, because I know I probably missed something with everything going on. But one thing, Colleen, you asked a question. It says, every time I try to update my bio, it gets rejected. My answer is, why does this keep happening? Please go ahead and send that over to Managed Client or for Author Services, and we will be more than happy to look into that for you. Again, if you do not have those email addresses, I will be putting them up here in just a moment. But again, please make sure you reach out, because we would like to make sure that everything is working correctly. So again, this is another perfect example. If you ever have any questions on something not working, something, you know, you just general question, please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're more than happy to help you. So let me see what other questions we have. Trying to group some of these, because you guys are asking the same great questions. Okay, I'm going to actually give this to Jessica, because this is one that seems to be a little bit here too, is I write slow. You know, how can I learn to write a little bit faster, especially when revisions can take a while?
I would say focus on what you know the best. If you're a carpenter, that's finance.
Nope. Oh no. She's kind of a little bit. That's okay.
But I think we heard the most important part of that, which is, yeah, you know, I think I mentioned when I was talking before that if it was me and I was going to pick up an assignment from the open order pool, I would pick sports. You know, 4-star. If I'm a 4-star writer, I pick the 4-star sports articles, and the reason for that is, like, I'm really into sports, and while somebody may, you know, a client may request an article about something very specific that I'm not totally sure about, or I need to do some research, because I know sports so well, I know exactly where to go, right? Is it going to be ESPN, or is it going to be NBA.com, or, you know, so I'm gonna have that kind of knowledge. So yeah, that certainly should speed you up, and I think you know, if it's something you know, hopefully it's more fun to write about. I think we've seen some things in the chat, and we've heard this before from authors, that part of the reason they like Textbroker is sometimes they get to explore something they've never really thought about. Jessica even mentioned it with the adult toys. So yeah, so I think it's, you know, I think once you get your comfort level going, once you get your speed up, it can be fun to try something new. But certainly you're going to be fastest when you're doing things that you know. And just to also, I think a bit earlier, I talked about joining the team, right? I think one of the great things about the team orders is that for most part the instructions are relatively similar over and over and over again, and so you kind of have that part down. You know, if you're always writing about roofing, right? Eventually you get to know what those roofing resources are that you might need to look things up for. So that's a great way to speak with them.
If I could recommend, it's also, I think I saw that question as well. The person writes an outline and does their research, and then they get started writing, and it takes a little bit of time. I think to decrease the chances of getting a revision request, it would be good to chat with the client about exactly what they're looking for. That way that you can give them exactly what they wanted the first time around, and you don't have to, hurry up and fix something in the revision request. So maintaining that open line of communication with the client, please don't be shy about it. I would highly recommend that.
You can also ask the client before you get started writing. If you have a question that you're not getting it, don't get 300 words through a 400-word article and then ask your question. Yeah. The thing about that is, keep in mind, clients might be on different time zones. They might not get back to you right away. So if you don't get a response within like an hour or two, realistically, your options are to drop the order and pick up something else, or you can also reach out to Textbroker's people, and they might be able to help you figure out what the client means. Or you can go to the forum and ask too. You can say, on this team, I have a question about this instruction.
Yeah, and when it's a managed team, definitely, again, reach out to managed clients. We'll be able to help you. Again, like Desiree said, at the bottom of the instructions for the managed team is also the project manager. They can help you direct you on what you may be looking for more. So again, we are here to help. So please reach out if you have those questions. And the other, this next question actually kind of adds to that a little. Again, not only if you have questions, but if you're ever questioning an order, when am I going to get paid for this? When, I have a revision, I'm not 100%. Again, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. If we can't answer, we know the people to go to get your answer. So it may take us a second, but we will find it. So this is actually more for Desiree. So how long does it take to get a second review? This person says they have a number of articles up for review. Please send them to managed client. We'll look at those too. Side note. And again, just how long would it take to with reviewing, getting your reviews?
It depends on how quickly you're writing orders. So our high volume authors get rated most often. If you wrote and then you stopped and then you were just waiting for that review, it might take longer. So if you're waiting for a review and it's been a while, like let's say it's been like 2 months and you haven't been rated, that will be too long. So please just reach out to us, ask us and let us know, hey, it's been this long time, can you check this out? It could be an issue in the system or whatever it is, we can resolve it for you. So definitely if it's been just like longer than 2 months, reach out and we'll get you sorted out.
Thank you. So I'm going to take this next one, and I know I'm kind of moving fast, but I want to try to get as many of these questions because they're fabulous. I want to try to get as many of these questions answered. We're getting a little bit closer on time. So one of the questions is, how come there are so many teams that accept authors but never had a single order? Why haven't closed teams been removed from the team order lists? Well, yes, we do have, and Philip can add to this, but we do have some clients that are starting to get going. They just haven't finalized everything. We had a lot, and I know some saw right at about March of last year, where we had quite a few. But the thing is, we keep them there because that client very well could come back. They're restarted a new project with us. So we want to make sure we have the teams available and ready to go. And on those teams, I usually try to make sure that, especially if there hasn't been anything for a while, I will send out team messages. So make sure your team messages are on, hint. And I will send those out saying, hey, here's what's coming. This is what we're moving towards, when our new orders possibly going to be there. So always make sure you're reading your team messages. But I don't know, Philip, if you want to add a little more to that, or that?
You know, and I'm gonna have to double check this, but I believe if we close an account, then those teams come off. So no, Tammy, you got it exactly right. Again, this may surprise people, but the number of companies that order something in January of this year, and then they don't do anything until March of next year. I mean, that's obviously it's not the majority of our clients, but there's enough of those clients where they come back to Textbroker when they need us, and if they go a year without needing us, they're happy to know that we're here when they are ready. And so yeah, we don't want to kind of mess with those. But yeah, we will double check this. But I think, and we do a review. It's kind of like if a client has not been around for north of 2 years, they haven't done anything. We do have a process where we kind of go through those older clients, and if we feel like that client's never coming back, then their account does eventually get closed. And when the account gets closed, I believe those teams come off the board. So I know sometimes it feels like there's 15 years of teams on the list. It's not exactly accurate, but there's a lot because we do have a huge number of clients, and we have a lot of clients who they'll disappear for a while, but like clockwork, eventually they come back.
No, thank you. And that's a great question because I definitely have had that question before. And, we really do try to make sure that we're communicating with anyone, especially if a team hasn't had any orders in a while, just to remind you that, hey, it's there, it's coming, just to kind of get you back in the habit of, looking at those teams again. So I'm scrolling through all these here, so give me just a moment. We're trying to briefly go through and any ones that, one here, what should we do if keywords are spelled incorrectly? That is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question that get often. One of the things is, yes, please immediately reach out to us. Again, whether it be author services or whether it be managed client. In that case, if you're not sure, send it to both. One of us will make sure. Now, when you submit the article, you may have to put that in as a misspelled word because it will not let you submit it without it, but we will make sure that we get that corrected. And even clients make mistakes, so we need to make sure that we are informing them that they need to correct that. So again, anyone in author services or managed client, we definitely can make sure we get that changed. So please make sure you're reaching out to us. And
I was going to say one other thing. I mentioned at the very beginning that we're an international company. Textbroker.com is for just U.S. authors, and for the most part, it's mostly U.S. clients, but we certainly have clients from all over the world using Textbroker.com. If they need U.S. English, they might be in Europe, they might be in Africa, wherever, they are going to use us. And so as a result, the grammar and spelling of our clients sometimes is not all that great, and we totally get it. Sometimes the author briefings or the author instructions are not as clear as you'd love them to be. But yeah, so bear with those clients. I don't know if I have a percentage off the top of my head, but it's probably somewhere in the kind of 10% to 20% range of our clients are not from the U.S. And so, their grasp of English, even though they need English and they want it to be really good, their grasp of English might not be the best.
Exactly.
So when you go to Google, have you ever made a typo? And if that actually gets traffic to the client's website, they might want some of that on purpose, and I have had that happen. So it's always good to ask, but sometimes they do it on purpose, and it's surprising. But
that should over time be going away. Google just keeps getting smarter and smarter. So Google at this point, if you go to Google and you misspell a word, they automatically know what you meant and they sort of correct it. So, but in the old days they didn't. And so that was a bit of an SEO strategy, like, people commonly misspell this word. So even though I'm probably not good enough to rank for the word when it's spelled correctly, maybe if I put the misspelled word all over my page, Google will rank me highly for the misspelled word. But yeah, hopefully we don't see that too much anymore because Google's just gotten so smart.
Well, we've got about a minute left, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen again. This is, like I said before, how you can contact us. So please, again, write anything or ask us any questions that you may have. I do apologize that we weren't able to get to everyone's question today. If there's something that I did not answer, please send it to us at either the managed client or author services, or authors@textbroker.com, and we will get the answer for you. So again, thank you so much for participating today and joining us in our first Textbroker Author Society. I hope you really found the information useful. So again, I want to thank Philip, Desiree, Jessica for presenting today. All of the information that you gave was wonderful. I know I learned some stuff, so I'm hoping everybody else did. So thank you again, and I'm looking forward to our next one.
Bye.